It's pretty new. Never put it in my talk. Might fit sometime, might not, but it's funny. So I'm just going to jump in. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
So here we go. I'm going to read it. 20% of people don't know how to change a flat, and 28% of cars are sold without a spare tire. So if you do a little math, at any random car you get into, you could have up to a 48% chance of not making it to your destination just from tire problems. So when I landed at DIA, that's the airport in Denver, the other day, and I got an Uber Prius to take me home, I knew right away my chances were higher than 48% of not making it. You see, I hate to get Prius pickups on Uber. Those cars, they're loud from the road noise. The back seat is the most uncomfortable of any car I've ever been in. And I mean, like, it might as well be made of barbed wire. When the app showed me I was getting a Prius, my mood sank. And when it arrived, I knew there was trouble, because it wasn't just a Prius. It was a junker Prius. It was dark, but I could see all kinds of scratches and dents. And as soon as the driver, straight from Kenya, put his foot on the gas or the accelerator, I don't know if Priuses have gas, I was bouncing and shaking all over the back seat. I had to put my seatbelt on to stay in one place. Clearly, he had major alignment trouble. And as soon as we got to the freeway, he said, all of a sudden, as if surprised, did you hear anything? and he starts to pull over, and I'm like, what else is there to hear in this rattle trap? It turns out he only pulled over because the light went on the dash for the tire. He got out in confusion and just walked around the car, looked at it. Yep, it was the right front tire was flat. So he stood there with his hands on his hips, just staring at it for a few minutes in the dark as traffic whizzed by with it starting to snow. Then he called his friend, and while he wasn't very good at speaking English, he was really good at speaking African. And I don't know what they decided, but he stood there some more, just looking. And then the snow's starting to come down, and I knew he was a 20%er, and we were in trouble. We got my bags out of the trunk. So now they're strode along the side of the highway, and he proceeded to sift through the clutter in the back of the car to find the jack. Now there's 3 parts you need to change the tire. You need the jack handle, you need the lug wrench. He got out 2 of the 3, the jack and the lug wrench, went over, put the jack under the car. Anywhere was fine with him, even though I told him that he needed to look for the notch where the jack goes under the car. He proceeded to crank it up with the lug wrench, which was only sort of working. You see, I am in the 80%, and I was trying to be polite. And after I watched him struggle for a few minutes, I said, you might want to get the jack handle. It's long and skinny, looks about like this. He went around, found it, and decided that, yes, this indeed would work better. Because, car maintenance, that's not a thing in Africa. And then he proceeded to demonstrate the 20% technique of removing lug bolts, which included putting the wrench on the lug so the handle was straight up in the air at 12 o'clock and kicking it while wearing African plastic imitation leather sandals, which not only did not work, but every time he kicked it, the wrench wedged itself off the bolt just a little bit and stripped it every time until it fell off. Now, I could tell he didn't like taking direction from a woman, but I couldn't stand it anymore. So I say, if you put it on parallel to the ground and stand on it like this, you'll loosen these right up. So he tried that, but then preferred his technique to mine. And then it gets worse, because a Ford Escape pulled over to help. And you hear that on the news when someone pulls over to help. So I'm thinking, I'd just been on this speaking trip. I had a couple $1,000s in cash with me from book sales. I'm thinking I might as well say goodbye to my wallet, and I'm mentally preparing for the worst. But out steps Janie, and now she is a doppelganger of Melissa McCarthy's character from Brian. Short, plump, happy, and serious at the same time, all while being more than a little masculine. And she almost jubilantly says, "Are you all right? I'm a mechanic. Need any help?" And 20% just stares at her. So again, she asked, and he barely mumbles something, probably because now he's got two women telling him what to do. And as she starts to turn and go back to her car, I say, he needs help. So she muscles him out of the way and says, I just got off classes at Big Rig Mechanic School up the road. I always stop to help people. Usually I have my impact wrench in the car, but today I don't. And really, I'm one of the few people who knows how to properly set the tension of a lug bolt in this town. Now, this really happened. So, because you don't want to blow out your donut on the freeway. That was like the most fun you could ever have. But then she goes to work. So 20% stands there speechless and calls his African connection friend to come help. Jamie says, step back from the vehicle. Please keep yourself warm. I'll handle this. I need a flashlight, please. And then she took a closer look at 20%'s work and says, oh, honey, you didn't place this jack right under the car, and you are ruining the body of your car. And I looked, and there it was, all rumpled where he'd placed the jack. Again, no reaction from him. So she goes to get her jack from her SUV. 20%'s African connection friend shows up to take me, but I won't leave because I can't miss what might happen next. Because that's, let's see, because that's also safe, you know, standing on the side of the freeway with my stuff in the dark and snow starting to cover the ground. So she jacks up 20%'s car, pulls the tire off and says, oh, honey. You got no tread left on this tire. And I looked, and I had never seen a tire so bare. You could see the white fiber that's the radials under the rubber. She shines the flashlight under the wheel well, and she says, oh, honey, you got some major damage here. And that's when I grabbed my stuff. I thanked Jamie and jumped in with African Connection to get home. And that night, I learned sometimes life's not about who you are. Sometimes it's about who you're not. Making sure you're not in the 20%. And so that's as far as I got.
Okay. Read me the note that it ends with. Let me see what else we got hanging out there.
The story actually ended with African Connection taking me to a hotel at the next exit so I could call my husband, who is, we're in the middle of the night here, did not pick up the phone. That's a husband job.
Right.
And so I called my friend to come get me. It needs a better ending. I've toyed with the idea of having Jamie take me home after she fixes a tire and talking about how she just bought a Big Rig because she could, and that she has the codes to all the nukes, which are hidden in the shopping malls, and that she has 9 golden retriever puppies. And all of those are in the Bridesmaid movie, but everybody hadn't seen that or might not remember it. So I don't know.
Okay, I think that's the way you end the story. I did want you to jump in the car with Jamie and get a ride home.
Okay.
That's kind of part. I wanted you to leave both those guys standing there and you ride home with Jamie. So
right.
I do think that's, and we'll tweak how to word that. So yeah, I think that's it. Forget about husband, and I just gives you a ride.
Okay.
We'll look at all that. Now, I don't know what you mean. All of those are in the Bridesmaid movie. All of what? What's in the Bridesmaid movie?
All of those traits about her. About how.
So does that mean you made it up, or it really was true about her?
No, she really did get off Big Rig Truck School, and she looked exactly like Melissa McCarthy, just happy.
I think you ought to have a line then that said, "Oh my gosh, did they write Bridesmaid about you?" Or was that I don't know. You could say something about them basing that. We could find a funnier way to do it. If it's all in the Bridesmaids movie, I saw Bridesmaids and still don't remember that. But if people do remember it, I don't think we need any reference. Normally, you wouldn't need any reference to the movie Bridesmaids again. I liked it up in the beginning.
Okay.
Because even if we've seen it, I don't think you need to, you got a dilemma here, and that even when we've seen Bridesmaids, we probably don't remember those parts of it.
Yeah, they're little bitty parts in it.
They're bitty parts, and you don't need to take the time explaining it. So all you really need is she bought a Big Rig just because she could. No, really. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
And she has all the codes. So you just say, oh, no, I'm not kidding. No, really, after a couple of those, and anybody who's seen the movie, you're doing that for them. You know, they're like, no, I'm not kidding. She really did it. And then the rest of us who don't know the movie, it doesn't matter. because you're still telling us, no, she really did this, and we're just not relating it. So that's how you do, and don't even mention the movie again. You just like, no kidding, she really did this.
Okay.
And then we're like, ha, ha, ha. Okay, this is hilarious. It is a very, very funny story. It is.
It's too long.
Okay. No, I wouldn't say that, because you could tighten it up some more. It is just so funny, but I don't worry about how long it is now. First, write it, get all the funny in it, and then there might be places where you can condense it and make it even tighter. But for now, I just want to see what the jokes are. Okay. The biggest thing you're going to have an issue with is calling him the African guy.
I know people are going to get all over my case.
Yes, they sure are. And it won't probably be the African guys who drive Ubers who are going to get all up in arms
It'll
about
be
it.
anybody.
But you're going to have an issue. So we're going to have to go through, and I'll help you, and figure out how to make this more PC.
Right.
And the fact that, I mean, even though it was an African guy driving the Uber, just the fact that we're stepping into a stereotype is just going to cause you major problems.
Yeah,
so I'll help you how to fix that. I'll help you see how to fix that. When you calling him a lot, I kept getting you calling him 20% makes sense, because he's the 20% who doesn't know how to change a flat. Were you ever calling yourself a percentage?
I called myself, I said, no, I'm in the 80%. I did say that a lot.
Okay. Be careful about all these percents going through the story.
Okay.
I would, as you get into it, just call him, I don't know. Let's work through that. There are a couple places where I went, wait, and it'll come in there. It'll get confused. But I love how you start.
Okay.
20% of people now you could even start by, especially if you've set up this premise or to fit into your premise of your husband. According to my husband, the rocket scientist, 20% of people, honey, as he told me this morning over cereal, because I think it's funny to set up this idea that he's always giving you, statistics.
Okay, right.
So my husband, the rocket scientist, is telling me over breakfast, honey, did you know 20% of people don't know how to change a flat? 28. Did you know 28% of cars are sold without a spare tire? So if you do a math in any random car, you can have up to a 48% chance of not making it to your destination just from tire problems.
Right.
See, that's funny giving your husband that line.
Okay.
Because of him being the rocket scientist and fitting in with other stuff that we've talked about in your keynote. And then I would say, yes, honey, I do know that, because I have experienced that firsthand. And then you go back, then you're going into the other day, I'm landing at DIA. Now you need to tell us where that is, Tracy, and is that Denver?
Yeah.
So I would say
I
Denver.
landed in Denver.
So the other day I landed in Denver, and I get an Uber Prius to take me home. I knew right away my chances were higher than that of Fort. Oh, you could say instead of, I knew right away. Well, we might have to tweak this back if it doesn't work with that first line. So you can determine it.
All right.
I landed in.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? And I get an Uber Prius to take me home. Now, as my husband has already told me, or as my husband is telling me, he's right. I knew. I don't know. Play with that. You might even be able to keep it in and nobody will notice. I get an Uber Prius to take me home. So yes, my chances were higher than 48%. Or I knew right away. Yep. 48% chance I wasn't going to make it.
Right.
You could say, I knew right away, 48% chance I wasn't going to make it. I don't know. Play with that.
Okay.
We got other things, bigger things we need to work on.
Sure.
Than that. Okay. So you see, and I loved how you did this. It's written so casually, conversationally. I mean, this is how a story should be told. Okay. So you see, I hate to get picked up in a Prius. They're loud from the road noise. The back seat is most uncomfortable any car I've been in. Now you could say the back seat, okay, instead of saying it's the most uncomfortable of any car I've been in, that's one of those statements we can't see.
Right.
Uncomfortable is a word that's gotten overused. It doesn't mean anything to us anymore. So tell me how uncomfortable. Riding in the back seat is like riding in a what? Give me, and don't worry about making it funny, but
like
just
a horse and carriage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like riding in a horse and carriage.
Okay.
And say it with that just sarcastic. They're loud from the road noise, and the back seat is like riding in the back of a horse and carriage. It might as well be made up. No, I think you could even. You said barbed wire.
Yeah, I changed that, but I don't know if barbed wire is quite right.
No, I don't even think you need to do anything. I think that's a funny line, riding in the back of a horse and carriage.
Right. It is. God, I hate when you get a Prius and
Yeah.
I hate it. I'm like, oh.
Now, there is a joke, and this I think you can make. I mean, it's funny to me how you could see, okay, you could do something like this, Tracy. Go back up a little bit. When I landed at DI, I landed in Denver landed home in Denver. So let them know, I'm home in Denver. I landed home in Denver and was ready to get an Uber to or I landed in Denver and ready to get an Uber to take me home. And of course, being that it's Denver, I get a Prius. Because see, that cracks me up. I get a Prius. It's just a tiny little tweak on the line, but it's, of course, being in Denver, I get a Prius. Okay, so anyway, let's go back. Okay, they're loud for the road noise, and the back seat's like riding in the back of a horse and carriage.
Right.
Pause. As soon as I saw on the app I was getting a Prius, my mood sank. When I got there, I knew it was in trouble. I love this line. It wasn't just a Prius. It was a junker Prius.
It was. God.
It was dark, but all I could see were scratches and dents. Okay, you're taking a really funny line and you're lessening its power, but I want to move that last line earlier. And when it arrived, I knew there was trouble. Even in the dark, I could see scratches and dents. Yeah, it wasn't just a Prius. I'd gotten a junker Prius.
I'll just leave it.
And boom, it stays there. All right, as soon as the driver, you cannot say straight from Kenya.
I know.
What you're going to do? It is, of course, it's true. You're going to tell me his name.
Oh boy, I don't even remember.
You're going to go Google names from Kenya.
Right. Okay.
You're going to make that his name. Because telling me what his name is a very truthful part of a story, and you don't have to say the Uber driver straight from Kenya.
Okay.
Now, you could say, if Uber tells us the name of the person coming, what kind of car, and details. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Because on an Uber it says friendly, likes to talk.
Yeah.
Then you could say, I landed at Denver the other day. I get an Uber to take me home. Uber. I see right away 3 things. No, don't say 3 things. I get an Uber Prius on its way, or shoot, where do we fit it in? Tell me what.
So I have this joke about Uber drivers. There's 2 kinds of Uber drivers. There's the friendly, talk to you kind, and then there's the kidnappy kind.
Yes, that's funny. And that's funny to just throw in there. You might have to scratch.
The kidnappy kind.
Yes. Oh, that would be. Was he that kind?
He didn't. It was hard for me to get him to talk.
Oh, then that would be the funny part. You could say, with Uber, there's 2 kinds. There's a friendly kind and a kidnappy kind. Let's just say this guy was about middle of the spectrum.
Okay.
Or middle of, it'd be funny to say, I wasn't exactly sure where he fit. That's even funnier. And tell us somehow in the story that when you're looking at the app, it would tell you.
Right.
I want it 3 things, and Prius will be last. So I landed in Denver. It was middle of the night, so I wasn't going to wake my husband up. I'm just going to take an Uber. I pull up the app, book the driver, and I noticed 3 things. No, don't say I noticed 3 things. Or I book the driver and then tell me his name.
Right.
And under details, it says done, 14 trips. That would be funny to make him do 14 and a half trips. Has completed 14 and a half trips, doesn't like to talk, and is from Kenya. You know what I'm saying? Speaks little English as new from Kenya. Do you see? That's a softer way of setting up. Now you don't have to. I would set it up when you're looking. Oh, and the third thing, and he rides, and he's coming in a Prius.
Got it.
And because it's Denver, he's coming in a Prius. So I really want you, when you tell the story, to make sure that the thing is, you've got to be kidding, he's in a Prius. Right. Not that he's from Kenya. Hold on, Bill, do you have a line? Bill's got a line. Hold on.
Speaks a language because he's new to our shores.
Speaks a language new to our shores. Okay, That'll be good.
Thanks, Bill.
Huh.
Bill is prepared. He's
I
prepared.
know he is. He is. He's prepared for everything. Okay, so that's how you get around all that, and and so go Google names from Kenya. You could even maybe go back to your app,
Yeah,
or he might have an. I don't know if they do it, but some of them get their name changed, and they're John.
Yeah, or Sam. Or
And it shows you what the name used to be and what it is, and that would be funny too. So anyway, enough about that, and that'll get you around all the touchiness of that.
Got it. Oh, good.
And then he's got a name. So now when he's got a name, you don't have to describe. We know. We've written that picture ourselves. So he comes in, his foot on the gas. I'm bouncing, shaking all over the back seat. Had to put my seatbelt on to stay in one place. Clearly, he had major alignment trouble. I would say something even different.
Okay.
I'm not a car person, or maybe, I don't know. But it would be funny if clearly he had not read the part of the manual that says you're supposed. What do you do to go get your alignment fixed?
Well, you go in and they do it with lasers and.
Oh, I would say clearly he thought not an oil check was overrated, but balancing your tires was overrated.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay.
You see what I'm saying? And then it's a funnier statement than saying he had major alignment trouble. It just doesn't.
Oh, he thought aligning your car was just what? Not
Was a way of parking. Was a parking technique, or something like that. That'd be funny. Okay, this is absolutely hysterical. When you say we get to the highway and he's like, "Did you hear anything?" You're like, "What didn't I hear?" What else is there to hear in this rattled death trap? Put in death trap.
I like that death trap.
This rattled death trap. I'm going to die in this thing, And there could be a funny statement about I'm going to die in this. I was riding in a horse and or a bicycle riding thing in New York with the plastic.
Sorry.
It was raining, so the plastic was in, and we're whipping all over. And there's New York City, and I'm like, oh my God, we're going to die in this thing, and I'm already in my body bag. So just having a funny comment about you're going to die in this, and somebody's going to find you or something.
Yeah.
No, it turns out he pulled over only because a light went on the dash. It'd be funny if the fourth light went on the dash.
Oh my God.
Like he was lit up like Christmas. That would be even funny too. So he gets out. Yep. Flat tire. Oh, that's hysterical, Tracy, that he's just standing there with his hands on his hips.
Oh, Kelly,
like it's going to give him the answer. Say that. Like it's going to give, like he's waiting for it to give him the answer. Okay. The traffic's whizzing by and it starts snowing.
Yeah.
Now you might have a tendency to drop your words at the end, and that we can't. And your funniest lines are at the end. Yeah. So I need you to really work on at the end of a paragraph or a big, bold statement where there's a funny to go up instead and to go bigger. And it's starting to snow.
Right.
And to pause so that it doesn't get lost. And if you sometimes think you're not getting laughs, that's why. Because they're not hearing, or they're not even getting enough time, or your attitude isn't punching them in the face with it at the end. Okay, so he calls his friend, who also just came to our shores. Why don't you say it like that? Then he called his friend who had come over. Okay, you cannot say he wasn't very good at speaking English. He was really.
I know. I got to take that out.
We got to say something about. Okay, wait. Bill's here. What, Bill?
You're using it, Mr. Rakongo.
Rakongo. She's good.
Congo.
Oh, Congo. Is that a common one?
Yeah, that's a name from Kenya, East Africa.
Okay. Congo. Bill says is a Kenyan.
Is he googling names over there for me?
My husband, the prepper, has got it all figured out. He's a little like your rocket. Wait. Hold on. What, Bill?
And you got to use the accent, Mr. Rakongo.
You got to use the accent. Okay.
I don't know. I don't
know. Yeah, go on, Bill. Bill's not exactly PC.
Well, I'm not either is the problem, but I got to make it that way.
Oh, I'll tell you. Yeah, you can't. And we got to be very careful. So he calls his friend, who apparently, no, just say he calls his friend who apparently doesn't speak much English either.
Okay.
So the two of them, I'm standing there not understanding a word.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
And I quickly, okay. He called his friend who apparently does not speak English either. And it was quite clear, even I couldn't understand a word, but this I knew. The second one was a 20%er, was also a 20%, his friend was also a 20%er.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you don't even need to say we were in trouble. You'd already told us it started to snow. You kind of want to punch it at that. He called his friend. They weren't very good, who didn't speak any better English, and the two of them are going at it. And the only thing I could figure out was that new friend was also a 20%. A 20%.
I like it.
Yeah, and then you pause. We get all my bags out of the trunk. Now, they're sitting on the highway. Now, there's something funny in that. Are they nice bags or your duffel bag? So I'm waiting for somebody to hit my duffel bag and all my underwear is going to go flying out, whatever. Or maybe not. You might not have enough room to keep adding stuff.
Right.
We get out. My bags are now sitting on the side of the highway, and he proceeds to shift through his describe the clutter. Don't just say clutter, describe it. He begins to shift through these Bojangles or whatever bags, In-N-Out burger bags and, empty bottles. Describe the clutter in the back of the car to find the jack. I was relieved there was no body back there. So good.
I like that.
Yeah. Luckily, and it wasn't big enough to fit me. At least I knew he couldn't fit me in the trunk. And that'd be funny to say too. I love how you say, now there are 3 parts you need to change a tire, blah, blah, blah. All that was funny. He proceeded to crank it up with the lug wrench.
I like that.
Yeah. Instead of saying, which is only sort of working, I would say proceed with the lug wrench. Yes, you can see how this is working out. And even if I don't know how to change a tire, Tracy, which I don't, it's funny. I get it. Now when you say I'm in the 80% of what, that doesn't make sense to me, even though it's the other, I'm from the South. I'm trying to be polite.
Right.
Or even just say, I'm standing there trying to be polite. After I watched him struggle for a few minutes, I said, you might want to get the jack. It's long and skinny. He went around and found it and decided that, yes, this is working better. This is working better, I wouldn't say car and maintenance, not a thing in Africa. Take that.
I can't say that.
Yeah, but you can say something like, apparently, it was the first time they had met.
Wait, hang on.
You might want to get the jack handle. It's long and skinny.
Oh, okay.
He found it and decided, oh, yes, this would work better. Thanks for the tip.
Yeah.
So you can show that he's never seen one before instead of saying it must not be a routine thing.
Right.
Or he could say, I wondered if this was.
Oh, yeah.
And then that tells us. So there you go. Oh, God, I love that. He proceeds to demonstrate the 20% technique of removing the lug bolts. It is just so funny. Which included put on the wrench in the lug at 12 o'clock and kicking it while wearing, you cannot say African.
All right.
But you can say kicking it with his bright blue imitation leather sandals.
Got it.
We need a color. It might not be bright blue. Puma? Would they be Pumas?
No, they're black plastic imitation.
Okay, yes. Sandals. Yes. So kicking it with his plastic leather sandals.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And we get it because we totally get it.
This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, right. He's got sandals on. He's kicking it with his sandals.
Snowing in the snow.
In the snow. And you could even have some fun. If they're all laughing, you could say kicking it with the sandals, bare toes, in the snow. He's probably not even seen snow before. You don't want to say that, but okay. So this not only didn't work, but every time he kicked it off the wrench, it wedged itself in the bolt until it fell off. Now I could tell he did not like taking, it was funny, I love this line, direction for women. I actually wrote it in earlier and then you put it, so I went back up and scratched it out. I could tell, now say his name again, Okongo, did not like taking direction from women, but I could not stand it anymore. So I'm like, look, if you want to put it, you'll loosen it right. I love this. So he tried it, but preferred his own technique. Oh, that's funny. So he tried it, pause, but preferred his own bolt stripping technique to mine. And you just pause and let him have it. Okay, I love this. Then a Ford Escape pulled over to help, and you hear on the news someone goes over, say goodbye, mentally preparing. Out stops Jamie, A doppelganger of Melissa McCarthy's character from Bridesmaid. Short, plump, happy, and see, you do a great job of if we've seen it, we get it right away, and if we don't, you've given us just enough. Okay, and I want to kind of, oh, good, we're near the end. I was going to say we need to go too much longer, but it's working. Okay. Need any help? 20% just stares at her. Just stares at her. No, that's good. I wanted to say like, boom, but I'm not sure. No, I like just 20% just stares at her. So she asks again. He barely talks to her. Okay, no. Let's take all that away.
Okay.
Let's just say she hitches up, need any help? And without waiting for an answer, she hitches up her pants and jumps right in. That's what I'd have her do. Skip all that about 20% staring at her. You've already said he doesn't like women telling him what to, but I do like, and she need any help, and without waiting for an answer, she hitches up her pants and jumps right in, while 20% just stares at her, obviously off guard because obviously not happy or something. Obviously because now there are two women telling him what to do. Right? See, so you do it that way. Okay. She starts the car. Okay, so she muscles him out of the way. I love all this. Now he called. Now, wait a minute. His friend was already there.
His friend, I try to cut stuff out, right? So he calls his friend. His friend drives up. Both.
You don't need a. Okay, but I do like the friend.
Take the friend out. I can take him out.
Well, but I like him in there but just for a second. But it did happen now. So while she's working, 20%'s calling his friend to come help. Another guy. I thought we already talked about his friend.
We did. And I could take him out. If I get in the car with Jamie, I could take the friend out.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny that he calls his friend. But we just have it here in two places. So take out where it is earlier.
Okay.
And have him now while she's working. He's calling a friend.
Okay.
He blows up, and neither of them can. And they're just That's just a funny little piece. That just shows how he's so clueless about what's going on.
Right.
Okay. Okay. And then later you can take it out. If you have to cut something, then you can cut out the whole idea of there being a second.
Okay.
All right. So she pushes him aside. You can cut out her. Pushes him aside and gets to work. But I love her looking under, going, "Oh, this is not good.
Oh, honey,
not good.
Oh, honey,
this is not good." I love that. That's when I grab. Okay, so she shines up. All right, honey, you got some major damage. Now that just ends. So you have to get it to where she fixes it so his car. Oh, wait, does she fix his car or not?
Well, I left, so I don't know if they actually found.
Well, we're making you leave with her.
Yeah. So should I say?
So let's say she tells him, "You need to call a tow truck. Here's my brother Bobby's card."
Okay.
Have her give him her cousin's card.
Okay.
Oh, honey, you got some major damage here. You need to have this towed. Here's my cousin's card. He has a tow truck service. There's something funny about her cousin having one. You gotta put a cap on that. She's not gonna be able to help it. You got some major damage here. We can't do that. You're gonna have to have this thing towed. I can't tow. Well, obviously you can't tow. She didn't drive up in a tow truck. You're going to have this thing towed. Here's my cousin Buster's card. He can get it done for you.
Well, wouldn't it be funnier if somehow she had a tow truck and left to go get it or something?
Yes. See, I thought she would say, "Here's my other card." I thought that would be funny if she says, "You need to get that towed." Mm-hmm. I got a towing business. I mean, yeah. Yeah. Oh. She said, "I'll go." Oh no. She says, "I'll go back and get my truck. Let me get my tow truck. I'll be right back. Sweetie pie, I'll give you a ride on the way home."
Yeah, okay.
So that's what happens there. Make it so that she's like, "You got major damage. You're going to need to tow this. Don't worry. I got a tow truck. I'll go. You sit tight. I'll go get it and pick you back up. Honey, you come ride with me and we'll give you a ride home." So I end up riding with her after she's talking about how, so she's now just taking, she hadn't fixed the tire. Leave that alone.
We just leave she's going to fix it later. That is good.
So I ride home with Jamie, where she gives me a lesson on all the codes, shopping malls, and 9 golden retriever puppies. And I think I might get one. She gave me her card. And And then boom, do you see? And she's got her. She's going to start breeding them. I think I might get one. She
Yeah.
gave me a card, so we plan on staying in touch. And then boom, that's the end of the story. And it's a funny story. There could be lessons pulled out of that.
I think so. I think I got to tighten the story and then put.
Oh yeah, first you got to
Back to the
just get the
lessons.
story and tighten it. It's funny as all get out, and then you can work on. It's a story about communication.
Well, yeah, I could. There's a lot of places. I wasn't. This really helped.
Yeah, tighten it all up, bring it together.
Yeah.
As a very funny story. In fact, I'll call this lesson a case study in humor, because that's kind of the theme of this story. Make a hot seat. And then the next step is, if you're going to pull it and figure out some lesson in it, just start with, what did it teach you?
Right.
What did you learn that day?
Right.
Well, that day I realized 3 things. Or that day I noticed 1 thing. Or that was the day, that whole experience taught me this. That's where you go start to explore where the lessons are in the story.
Right.
But it's funny. And sometimes it's, that laughs are currency. They're gold.
Yeah.
And so putting them in there, finding a reason to tell it doesn't matter. Get it in there any way you can, because it's so funny. But you talk about lie detection, and you talk about reading people. There might be some way.
Yeah, I saw a couple spots in that. I could. Yeah, I need to see. I'm going to tighten it up first, and then see how I can tweak it around to fit a.
Yeah.
Like lying to yourself, like, we'll make it home. It'll be.
Yeah. I mean, you could even inject this whole. And the way to do that, and I agree, the first thing you do before, and that's what makes stories so confusing for people, is because they'll go try to weave all that in when they haven't really. First, get the story tight, get the humor in. Then your next step, if you're going to even take one at all, would be, who's the character, what's the conflict?
Right.
And how to run that through the story. What did you learn? Maybe you were going through something at the time, and because of that experience, you got your answer. That's where you kind of work that. But hey, good job.
Yeah. Thank you
Awesome.
so much for your.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
You're a gem.
Thanks.
Hey, I'm Tracy. I am going to do my after story that Kelly helped me with, and I'm going to read it so you can get a feel for the power of how she can beef things up. So here we go. Sometimes life throws you into situations where you can either lose it or roll with it. Situations that force you not to take yourself or life too seriously. Now, I was reminded of that recently. On my return trip home to Denver, I had to take an Uber. Usually my husband picks me up. On this day, he couldn't. I can still remember his very detailed and instructive cautions. See, he's a rocket scientist. Picture Sheldon on the Big Bang Theory, but a little older. I could still hear my husband saying over breakfast before I left for my trip, did you know 20% of people don't know how to change a flat? And 28% of cars are sold without a spare tire. So if you do a little math, in any random car you get into, you can have up to a 48% chance of not making it to your destination just from tire problems. Thanks, Matt. You have a good day too. So as I said, I'm now returning home, ready to tell my husband how I'd rocked it for that last audience. I mean, I didn't want to brag, but good grief. When you're married to a freaking rocket scientist, you have to take all the wins you can get. Now, honey, I know you just developed a new rocket ship that runs on some kind of combustible something or other, but I got a standing ovation and sold a box of books. So I landed in Denver, I grabbed my bag, ordered my Uber, and within minutes, you gotta love technology. My driver pops up in the screen, Jabir, 14 and a half trips completed, doesn't like to talk, speaks a little English, new to our shores, likes long walks in the park, slow jazz, and scented candles. Car model, Prius. Crap, I hate getting picked up in a Prius. They're so loud, you feel like you're riding in the boxcar of a train, and they cram you in the back seat like you're in the old west of a horse carriage. This was not what I deserved after my standing ovation. Oh, and it gets worse. I could hear Jabir's car rattling before it arrived. He pulls up in a Prius, and even in the dark, it became quite clear to me that this wasn't just any Prius. This was a junker Prius. And I knew right away that this car was the living embodiment of the 48% chance of not making it. Jabir nodded for me to get in. Yeah, he doesn't like to talk. And as soon as the door closed, without waiting for me to get on my seatbelt, he rammed his foot on the gas and we were off. Thank goodness the seatbelt worked, because it had not become, because had it not, it was more of a restraining device as I bounced and shook around in the car, trying not to get sick. It was clear that when he arrived to our shores, nobody told him about the importance of wheel alignment. And as soon as we got to the highway, he says the words that you never want to hear when traveling over 80 miles per hour in a death trap. Did you hear that? Hear that noise. What noise wasn't I hearing? This thing was so loud, I lost my hearing as soon as we left the airport. It was probably the Prius death rattle, I muttered. He didn't laugh, but jerked the car to the side of the road to inspect the source of the noise that had caused the latest warning light on his dash to light up. A dash, by the way, that had been lit up like a Christmas tree since we started, with other warnings that apparently were not explained in his new driver packet. Now, if my husband was here, he would have gone into cardiac arrest, just calculating the statistics of the chances of me making it home alive. He got out, Jabir, he did. Sure enough, the front right tire was flat. Now he just stands there with traffic whizzing by with his hands on his hips, just staring at the flat tire in confusion. It became clear to me that changing a tire was not on the list of his life achievements. And that's when it started to snow. Oh, great. I can now add freezing to death to today's adventure. He pulls all my bags out of the trunk and tosses them to the side so he can rummage through the Chick-fil-A bags, empty Mountain Dew bottles, and Cosmo magazines. What? Cosmo? Anyway, I was just as happy we didn't uncover a dead body. And pleased to note that there was no way he could fit me into that trunk, especially because I would have been frozen solid by that point. Now, there are three parts you need to change a tire. You need the jack handle, and you need the lug wrench. He settled on two of them, the jack and the lug wrench, went over to the flat tire and just stuck it anywhere. I told him he needed to look for the notch for the jack, and he ignored me while cranking it up with the lug wrench. So you can see how this is working out. Now, I'm trying to be polite. And after I watched him struggle for a few minutes, I said, you might want to get the jack handle. It's long and skinny. He went around, found it, and in silence, I could see he decided that, yes, indeed, this was working better. He looked at me in confusion, as if hard to believe this tall white woman would know anything about changing a tire. Apparently, he was reading too much Cosmo. And then he proceeded to demonstrate the 20%ers technique of removing lug bolts, which included putting the lug wrench on so the handle was straight up in the air at 12 o'clock and then kicking it with his brown plastic imitation leather sandal, which not only did not work, but every time he kicked the wrench, it wedged itself off a little and stripped the bolt more and more until it fell off. It was clear that Jabir didn't want me telling him what to do, but I couldn't stand it anymore. So I say, you know, if you put it on parallel to the ground and stand on it like this, you'll loosen these right up. So he tried it and shook his head in silence, and apparently he preferred his bolt stripping technique to mine. Then a red Ford pickup truck pulls over to help. Now, anybody who's ever seen an episode of Law & Order or Criminal Minds or even the nightly news knows that this is the part where the serial killer pulls over to help, and you get locked in the basement for a month. So I'm standing there preparing for the worst, hoping that between me and Jabir, I run faster. But then a woman jumps out of the car and marches over. Now, you remember Melissa McCarthy's character from Bridesmaids? This woman could have been her twin. Short, plump, happy, and serious at the same time, and not just a little bit masculine. She's got this look like she lives for moments like this. You all doing all right? I'm a mechanic. Need any help? It was not a question. Now, without waiting for an answer, she hitches up those khaki pants and jumps right in. Jabir is upset because now he's got two women telling him what to do. As she muscles him out of the way, she says, I just got off classes at Big Rig Mechanic School up the road. I always stop to help people. Usually I have my impact wrench, but I don't today. I'm one of the few people in Denver who knows how to properly set the tension of a lug bolt. Now, you don't want to blow out your donut on the freeway. Now, that sounded kind of fun, but she just went to work. Now, 20% stands there speechless and calls his friend, who's also new to our shores and doesn't speak much English, to come help. He must have been parked down the street because he arrived in just a couple minutes, and the two of them are rattling off in another language, gesturing wildly. Now, I'm not understanding a word, but I know enough to figure out Jabir and his friend were 20%ers and quite upset about a female being in control. Jamie says, step back from the vehicle. Please keep yourself warm. I will handle this. I need a flashlight, please. And then she takes a closer look at 20%'s work and says, oh, honey, you didn't place this jack right under the car and you're ruining the body of your car. I looked and it was all rumpled where he'd placed the jack and tried to crank it up. This only got a blank stare from 20% and his support friend. She goes to get her jack from her truck. 20%'s friend motions for me to get in his car. He's going to take me home. No way. I got to see how this plays out. And I didn't totally trust him not to take me to his basement. So no, it's much safer to stand on the side of I-70 in a blizzard just to get a good story. She jacks up 20%'s car, pulls the tire off and says, oh, honey, you've got no tread left on this tire. Now, I had never seen a tire so bare. You could see the white fiber under the rubber. Let's see. Oh, she shines a flashlight in the wheel well and says, oh, honey, you've got some major damage here. There's no way you can drive this car. You're going to need to tow it. But you're in luck. I got a tow truck at home. It's my side job. She looked at Jabir and his friend and says, you two wait here. I'll run home, get my truck, and come back to pick you up. Sweetie pie, looking at me, you get your stuff and come with me. So we jumped in her truck and she takes me home. On the way to my place, she told me all about how she has 6 houses and bought a big rig just because she could. But she really works for the government at the highest possible security level and has codes for all the nukes. They're all hidden in shopping malls. And that she has 9 golden retriever puppies, which is just a little more energy than she planned on. She might be more comfortable with 6. So I got her card. I might take one. I get home and my husband is sound asleep. Did you have a safe trip? He mumbles. Yes, dear, I did. I got a standing ovation and sold a box of books. No, I've never told my husband about Jabir. He's right enough of the time. I'll just keep this little adventure to myself. So the point of the story is that sometimes life throws you in situations where you just have to roll with it. Don't take it too seriously. And for gosh sakes, learn how to change a flat.